What's up? We're back. It's Ball or Nothing.
Oh!
I'm your host, Jody Roberts. With me and my two good friends, as always, Jasper Grover and Edward Dunstan. This week we're headed to Radelaide for Gather Round.
It's going to be a religious experience.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, what, the mecca of football, is it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Not AFL or VFL. Where
not church related. No.
I'm happy for them. I think it's good for the city. I've never been to Radelaide. You guys were there not too long ago.
It'd be cool to be there.
Yeah. Oh, we could go back to. Actually, no. Cut this bit out. I can't remember the name of the pub, but it was really good. So
that's right, because they're not a sponsor anyway. Looks like there's some good matchups. I think I was looking at the Saints and Collingwood matchup. Shame for the Saints, or shame that game can't be played in Melbourne.
It would be funny if that was just the one game. They were just like, no, this one game we won't play in Adelaide.
Well, that was what some ridiculous article was suggesting, that they at the last minute ship it back to Melbourne. So
I'm sure Eddie would love
people. Yeah,
not you, but
other Eddie. The other Eddie in Australia. Outrageous.
As I was just saying before, AFL just tweeted out a couple of interesting stats of of each team's record and games played in Adelaide. So obviously Adelaide has the most with 388, and then Port Adelaide with 325. So they were 3-4 years later after Adelaide?
Yeah.
Yeah, Adelaide was 91. Port was 97?
Yeah.
They also have the highest win percentage. So they've got 62% and 60% for Port Adelaide. In fact, maybe I'll just actually share this with you guys now. And then the next team with the highest winning percentage in Adelaide is Collingwood.
Wow. That definitely sounds correct. I feel like they went through a period where they were really good travelers. You know what? I feel
it happened right in front of me.
The top
that meme that everybody knows from the Adelaide Collingwood final. I think it was Jack Anthony kicked maybe a game-winning goal, and there's footage after the game of the feral Adelaide supporters going off.
Oh, because he got a dodgy free kick or something.
But they're nice now. They're not feral anymore.
Came back and won a close one.
So I feel like adding to that Adelaide stat, this is purely anecdotal, but I feel like Essendon would have received the most floggings in Adelaide. I have witnessed Essendon get trounced, on the TV, obviously, so many times in Adelaide, especially by Adelaide. Port Adelaide, obviously, a few times as well, but we have received some drubbings there. Whereas I feel like, Jazz, your Hawks have actually played pretty well over there over the years, haven't they?
Yeah, over the years, I still remember 2008. We won a very close one in the early around 12, maybe. I only remember because we were off to a fly to start the season, and it was one of the ones that we almost lost early in the season. Looking at this list that Johnny put up, we are 8th overall for our win percentage. We've played 43 games there. I mean, as of last 20 years, I'd say we've had a decent record. But I think they also absolutely thrashed us in their first ever game.
Yes, they did. Yeah. In 91, and you guys won
the year that we won the premiership, they absolutely flogged us, I think, by 78 points something.
That's nuts.
I'm trying to think. The last memorable game that I've got of the Cats playing in Adelaide was against Adelaide, and I think it was 2019. It was the season opener, and Geelong had all this momentum. They were hot favourites to win the flag. Adelaide, I think, were one of the bottom 2 or 3 teams that everyone was expecting. And the Crows came out and absolutely thrashed us by I think it was by 30 or 40 points. And then it was just sort of oh God, I hope it gets better from here.
Here's a hot take for you. I reckon Adelaide have the best colour scheme in AFL.
Wow.
That's not hot at all, because I also think that too. I think they got the best jerseys.
Yeah.
Okay.
A lot of the times they do. And speaking of jerseys, actually, there's a few teams have released new jerseys for Gather Round as well. Adelaide being one of them, and Port as well.
I think Adelaide's jersey, I'm trying to get excited about. I'm having a hard time. I quite like Frio's jersey. It's on
Yeah.
par with the Giants all black. I think it's cool. But then someone also made the comment that it's teetering on XFL. No, what is it? Yeah, XFL.
Yeah, the XFL.
Thought I was talking about NFL football for a second there. That jersey as well. So it's kind of like a fusion.
XFL.
But I think it works. Remember when? No, AFLX.
AFL.
I was talking NFL.
I was thinking like, is that XFL that some Legends League in the States where like women playing like a bra and undies like NFL or whatever?
No, that's arena football, I think, or something like that. I don't know quite what you're talking about.
Eddie's been watching a lot of videos online.
But no, a few cool ones. So Cats have played the most games there. West Coast Eagles have also played the most games, 47 each, and we play each other. So I don't know how much that'll impact. They've had a better winning percentage than us over there. But we're coming off a red hot win, so we'll see.
I don't think winning percentage matters so much in 2023 over 20 plus years of playing in a state compared to where Geelong and West Coast are at as clubs this year. I know Geelong's had a rough start to the year, but West Coast has had a rough start. So I think that's going to be an easy win regardless of where they play.
Yeah, sure. I think so, potentially. Gold Coast Suns, if I'm reading that correctly, they've played 13 games there and the win percentage is 7.7. So that would make one win.
Oh
yeah, probably.
I'm guessing.
And I reckon that might have been their first win in the AFL as well.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, because I remember, it was against Port, and I think it was in Adelaide as well.
Yeah, he is right. It's they were down by 40 points in the third quarter, and they came back and won against Port at Amy Stadium.
Yeah.
By 30 points, 40 points?
They were down by 40, yeah.
40? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So the Suns have got a chance to get another win in Adelaide. They play Freo.
Yeah, surely the Suns are due after 12 years.
Would you say that they're Stewie due?
Yeah, they are Stewie due.
So that'll be a good contest. I think... No, never mind. I was going to look at the favourites. Freo is 7.5 point favourites, so not much in it.
I was going to say, before we look forward, could you share your top 5, John, from round 4?
Straight off the bat, I'd love to.
Yeah.
Thought you'd never ask. Okay, let's do it. I need some sort of intro music for this now, I feel like, because usually I do it on the other side of the break. My top 5 moments from round 4. Number 5, I'm still on the Sheezel train. I think that he has been absolutely elite, and I did see a stat. So Sheezel is 4th in all disposals, 37 disposals for the game, and he leads all-time disposals through any player who's ever played 4 games. I think the other one in that was like Tony Modger or something. I wish I'd actually caught the tweet and I could remember who actually tweeted it out. So he's in some pretty elite company.
Yeah, amazing. Like he's what, 18 years old and he's already doing this.
Would you say you're so on board the train that you've emptied out your supermarket of all their boxes of Sheezels?
I'm a converted Sheezeler. He is he's 3rd overall in fantasy points, behind only Tim English and Clayton Oliver, and apparently Mitch Duncan. But he's only played 1 game, so that doesn't count.
Part of me wants to do such a Kane Corns take. It's like he's getting 37 disposals, but the Kangaroos are losing games. So.
Yeah, it's empty stats.
That's the thing he's doing. And he's doing in a position he's never played before. Yeah, I know. This is the other thing, is because North Melbourne has played the Eagles, they've played the Hawks, so he was obviously pretty dominant against them. But he also played the Blues, where he got his most disposals over the weekend. Every category he's in is elite. So 37 disposals against the Blues, 22 kicks against Freo. So Freo, Eagles, Hawks, not great teams, so it's hard to judge North. But against the Blues, Blues have been one of the top defensive teams.
Yeah, that's pretty good. He's amazing.
Yeah, I'm certainly glad I picked him up on my fantasy team.
It definitely makes it a bit easier swallowing the the Jason Horne-Francis to Port Adelaide move.
I think it's one of those rare instances where the trade is a win-win. Like, it's not very often that you feel like, I mean, maybe we'll need a couple more years.
I'm back.
Timestamp that. Maybe it needs a couple more years, but at the moment, I think it's looking pretty win-win.
Yeah, I mean, it may be that way. I don't think it's ever going to be win-win for North. As in, like, if I was a North fan, I would be very pissed off at him for the rest of his career. I would be booing him at every single opportunity. Just because I would hate the way that he let, like, a top draft pick and he leaves after. We don't need to relitigate this whole thing, but I would. Yeah. The emotional factor compared to the on-field factor would be win-win, but yeah, the emotional factor would always be a lose for me. Maybe comes around. Like I'm all right on Buddy after all these years.
Well, that's interesting though, because Buddy's played nearly as many games in Sydney as he has in Hawthorn.
Yeah, but he made his name at Hawthorn.
I forgot he even played for Hawthorn. Always be a Sydney boy.
Let's not get into that.
What are you gonna say?
I mean, he's a two-time premiership player, and both of them were at Hawthorn.
That was such a long time ago. Jess.
Doesn't matter. It's more recent than any Essendon's.
I only remember 4 weeks of any part of my life. So
you might need to go to a doctor.
Yeah, exactly. But Essendon is what the 4th most successful team ever, in my view. So in the last 4 weeks.
Exactly. Now, my number 4. So, I don't know. Did you see my viral tweets over the weekend?
I did not.
One of them about Dusty and about what I'm about to mention. But so I never realized. Apparently, I'm Hot Takes guy now.
I thought you were Cat Turd 2 on Twitter. Is that not you?
Cat Turd 2? I am not familiar with Cat Turd 2. I'm Cat Turd 1. Dusty, 4th quarter, game on the line, down to the wire, makes what I called... Okay, so here's what I said. Eddie, you'll probably really love this. Jasper, you'll probably just roll your eyes. I don't know if you've seen the mark or the footage, but basically he's got I think it's Liam Jones, is draped all over him. It's the start of the 4th quarter. Richmond's up by 4 points. And Dusty makes a pretty incredible mark in the forward half with Liam Jones draped all over him, bring him to the ground, falls to the ground, is on the ground, still manages to mark the ball. I said that this should be in contention for Mark of the Year, but it won't because it's not a spectacle. It's just pure strength and concentration. And I think the point that I was trying to make was, and this is what I was chatting about with some people, is the Mark of the Year should really just be called Elevation of the Year, because it's based on how high you can get, basically, is the way I often feel about it.
Yeah.
When a lot of these like contestant marks where the game is on the line should be looked at least. I'm not saying it's Mark of the Year. I don't think it's going to be Mark of the Year. I don't think it is Mark of the Year. But it should be talked about.
Yeah, okay. So you know how they always go on about marking the ball at its highest point? You're looking at marks that mark it at its lowest point.
It's there needs to be some, so it's like the equator, right? And then you go north or south at the equator, and the equator is your chest.
Yeah.
And if you can go high, that's good. And if you can go really low.
Really low. Yeah, no,
that's really
I think
good.
That is a fair call. It's really hard to mark it when it's really, really low to the ground.
Eddie, I'm going to put this in the chat. You have a look at the footage. You tell me what you think. Jasper, fire away.
No, like, I mean, you got a point. It's a decent mark. I've seen it before. Like, I just watched it, but I remember seeing it at the game.
You at the game?
Context is very rarely, if ever, taken in consideration for these awards, the goal of the year and mark of the year.
Yeah.
So,
because wasn't last year, it was Sam Draper goal of the year?
Yeah, he was goal of the year last year.
Because of the fend-off? When it's
a big
he was in the center, he got the tap, he then ran, he passed it off to someone, ran back, got around someone, and then did a banana on his right. It was pretty awesome.
It was cool. I enjoyed it at the time.
I'm sure there's like technically like kicking Jamie Elliott's goal on the boundary to win the game against us on like the wrong side for
that was insane.
Footer was like you could not have any more pressure and a harder kick to make, but he made it. And that's probably the hardest kick of the year. But
it should have been goal of the year.
But like, you know, is it just about kicking or is it about general play? So if he had like done something else, then maybe.
Yeah.
But, you know.
I think when the game's on the line like that, it's got to be contention. That's why I've got Jack Lukosius up there at the moment for goal of the year, because not so much because the game was on the line, although it was pretty even, but from the box was pretty cool. Eddie, you've reviewed the footage. What are your thoughts?
Okay, so I thought it was one of those, like, you know, he's diving towards the ground and it fingertippers, like, you know, around it and he like scoops it up or something. But it's like this one, he's like pushed him away and then he does go to the ground and get it. It's good. I wouldn't call it like mark of the year. Like I
wouldn't call it mark of the year for the record.
I wouldn't say it is the best mark.
So what are you saying then, Johnny?
It should be talked about. Just because he's not taking a specky off someone doesn't mean it's not a great mark.
Are people saying it's not a great mark?
I think that they're saying that it's not in contention for mark of the year.
Which it sounds like we're in agreement that it's not. So
I think it should be in contention.
No.
You don't think it should win, so what does that mean if it should be in contention?
No, Jasper, you don't get it. John is trying to create a straw man out of people who think it's a terrible mark.
So anyway, apparently the best way to get engagement from people is to just piss them off, as I've learned over the last few weekends. I'm going to have to take this weekend off from Twitter, I think.
So if we're taking context into consideration, does that make Brendan Goddard's mark in the 2010 grand final the best ever?
Yes, I remember it like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I reckon it is.
I reckon that, like, given the time in the game and the amount of pressure and
the quality of the mark itself,
I think it would have been slightly better if he'd had his hands up. And he was like,
it's pretty fucking good. I think you need to rewatch it. It's a bloody great mark.
It should have been one hand and to the side. And he gets it.
You can't be suggesting what mark of the year should be.
And he was looking away as he did it.
And he should just turn it into goal of the year by doing a scissor kick in
before
midair.
He got to the ground.
He can do both.
That would be amazing, getting mark and goal of the year in one go.
That'd be sick.
I feel like I'm watching it. I'm not sure. It just looks like a regular mark to me.
But you said we're taking into context here. This is a drawn, close grand final. I think it's score's not even in the last quarter of a grand final.
I see what you're saying, Jasper. I agree with you.
Could you please tweet that your reaction to Brendan Goddard's mark in the 2010 grand final was like essentially ho-hum?
Jeremy Howe takes 3 of those a week.
Yeah.
Not this year, he doesn't.
Well, no.
Sorry, Jeremy. I shouldn't make jokes about your injury. It's terrible. Okay, moving on then. Number 3, Jezza, 7 goals, 7 day outing. I wrote 7 goal day outing to lead the Coleman. Hit the front by 2. I think he's on 14 now, and Kerno's on 12.
He's kicked so many goals. He could get like at this rate, he could get 100, but it's probably not going to happen. So.
I love early season stats where you extrapolate for the rest of the season.
Yeah, yes. That's usually how things. You just extend it for the rest. of the season.
As form is now, is how it will be for the next 20 weeks.
He's on pace for 120 goals. I think
that's pretty good.
If he doesn't get at least 100, then it's a waste of the season.
Exactly.
But I only. I'm not sure how much Jasper wants to relive this game, but I only saw. I think I saw the first quarter, and then I saw a little tiny bit of the second quarter, and then I flicked back on sometime late in the third quarter, and I had to do a double take on the scoreline. So,
and then the two teams playing. It's hard to say. It was good. Like I felt like I actually hadn't enjoyed football that much since the grand final, so like it was nice to enjoy the game.
So in 5 weeks of football, you're saying?
Well, there's a part of me that
you haven't enjoyed football so much in 5 weeks of football.
I've been enjoying football.
No, but you're saying my point is that you won a grand final 5 weeks or 5 rounds ago, essentially.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. No, look, I think the Cats. It's hard to say. Like, and Jasper, maybe cover your ears for this. Like, the Hawks are the worst team in the league like according to like a few like stats and models that I've been running, Jasper scoffs by quite a long shot though. So I don't know if it's reflected in their percentage, but their points for to against ratio is minus 55.5. So teams are scoring 55 more points on them a game on average.
It's just the third quarter, really.
It is just the third
quarter. There was
some
stat where there was like Hawthorn scored 11 points and the other team was
158.
Yeah.
Do
so
they
you take
need
that away, or you even that out just a third more.
They just need they need to be like hypnotized to believe that it's actually the first quarter, and they need to come out all guns blazing, and give 110%.
Tough thing for the Cats though is so by halftime, like Jeremy Cameron had kicked 3 goals, and the other goal was he basically set it up on the quarter time siren. So it's like if he didn't play, they would have been goalless at halftime. So.
At the game, the Cats fucking stunk in the first half.
Yeah, they did.
Obviously, you can disregard that after scoring 10 goals in the quarter. The next one,
it was Cats. Well, Hawks opened the game with 3 goals, and they looked good. They looked really, really good. And I was like, "Oh man, this is going to go down south quickly."
Yeah, I think Scott must have just made a adjustment. It's not never just one adjustment, but he obviously recognized some sort of the game plan, and that was shut down basically from the halfway through the second quarter.
Yeah,
our ball use just slowed. We couldn't get it forward, and then from there it just collapsed.
So Hawks are running the fast system against the Cats, and the fast system has been killing us all year. When teams play fast, like you saw the Pies, they killed us with it. When they started playing really fast, like our dudes just couldn't keep up. And I did see a stat on Twitter that we were running the oldest team in the competition by a little bit versus, and I think the Hawks were the youngest team in the competition.
You guys literally had double the amount of experience of games played. They were showing stats. So Cats were about 3,500 games of experience overall, and the Hawks were 1,700. Cats had 7 players over 30. The Hawks had 1.
Wow. Yeah. I think we also had like 4 players under 24 or 25. Maybe it was 5 players or something like that. So yeah, it's hard to say, but then it did seem like the experience of the Hawks showed up in the second half. They were nowhere near as quick, and then like the Cats sort of started to gain this like confidence, and like the players who hadn't been playing well started playing well. So it's 1 quarter out of 16 that have been good.
Huge question, John. Is Geelong back? Is this did Hawthorn essentially play like Geelong back into form, or was this a bit of a flash in the pan from a side that is old, decrepit, and needs to be put into retirement?
It's one or the other.
Yeah.
It's hard to say and the other thing is we're not going to see it this weekend either because they play the Eagles, who are in just as bad of a position as the Hawks. So if you look at my power rankings, I've got the Cats 13th, which is way lower than anyone else, but probably it's because I'm like a skeptical Cats fan. So yeah, I need to see more than 1 quarter out of 16 to put it all together. But again, we're not going to see it this weekend, so maybe the week after that. I think we play the Swans after the Eagles, so that'll be a huge test because the Swans have been awesome, sort of comparatively other than the D's. But yeah, we'll see. What do you think? What were your thoughts on the Cats?
Is Radelaide Aliir, is he going to spoil maybe a Geelong game-winning goal on the goal line? Aliir Aliir, but on his own team, maybe. When was that last year, the year before? He spoiled.
I think it was the year before, but that is still one of the like that amongst Cats Twitter. That is just a favorite.
I still remember it.
An all-time favorite. Someone did bring it up on the weekend, compared it to Aliir Aliir. So, but going in the other direction, it's a good photo too.
I might be behind, but I don't rate him as a backman.
Nah.
I don't think he's reliable.
He seems like an athletic player, and so they're hoping he just kind of catches form, like a Blitzard sort of thing.
I mean,
he had a good game in round 1 against the Pies, and everyone was like, "Whoa, like holy shit, there might be something here to this." And it's like, "Oh, Chris Scott is a genius for making this move." And then since then, he's been like a Sava standard, I kind of think,
just kind of inconsistent. With the Cats, I think I think they're back.
You calling it now?
Yeah, I'm calling
Top
it. I
8,
think,
top 4, premiership.
I reckon they'll make the top 8. Yeah.
The problem is you can't make. There's only one way to make a hot call on Geelong, and that's to say that they're not back. Because if you say they're back, you're like, oh well, yeah, reigning premiers,
Yeah.
whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
So the only way you can be make a big call on the Cats is to say they're going to get worse from here on out. If you're going to be
saying they're back
hot
after
take
one
merchant.
game is pretty hot.
No, not for the reigning premiers for
After one quarter.
They played.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
So you could look at it from this perspective of like, okay, so we lost the Pies. They're clearly like top 2 in the competition. And then we lost to Carlton, who a lot of people have rated top 4.
Mm.
And then
where do you rate them though?
Oh, I don't think they're that great. I've got them I think I've got them like 9th or something. I think they've got like such a solid offense, but they don't have any like behind Charlie and Mackay. They just don't have any like star power. Although Sam Walsh is coming back this weekend, so we'll see. Anyway, this is not about Geelong, about Carlton. So they lost to the Pies and the Blues, who are 2 quite highly rated teams, and then we got Jack Lukosius in the Gold Coast, which like Jack Lukosius put up 5 goals on us. And I said in the last pod, the most goals he'd ever kicked in a game was 2, and he'd done it like twice before. If he hadn't kicked those 5 goals, it would have been a completely different outcome. So I also think it's okay for teams to have one nightmare game. Like you look at how the Lions played against Port Adelaide, was a nightmare game. How the Dogs played against St Kilda, they put up like 46 points, was a nightmare game. So I give every team one pass.
I loved how after, 3 games, everyone was like, Paddy Dangerfield's fucked it up. Like it's him being the captain and Joel Selwood going that has completely changed things, and they're now shit.
Yes, that has been the sentiment on Twitter, to the point where one person even said, how did Geelong go from having the best captain in the league? This was a Pies fan as well, Collingwood fan. They said, how could Geelong go from having the best captain in the league to the worst captain? It's like, well, that's a lot to say if you thought Joel Selwood was better than Scott Pendlebury. But we'll see. Okay, so Cats have got Eagles, Swans, Bombers, Adelaide, Richmond, Freo. So, like, there's so many games there that are like 50-50.
I reckon they're back, and they'll go on a big old winning streak.
Look, if they win 3 of the next 4, that's a great result. I think they'll struggle against Adelaide though. Although I think that's at Cardinia Park. So we'll see. Yeah, it's hard to say from this weekend from the Eagles. My number 2 moment from round 4, Charlie Cameron's never say die sidestep in goal. You kind of had to be there to really appreciate how good it was. But basically, the other players, who did they play? They played Collingwood, yeah. So basically the other defenders had kind of given up on the ball, assumed it was going out, and then Charlie just sort of quickly snapped into action and took it to the goal line and kicked it. Did you see it?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
It was awesome.
I feel like Charlie Cameron, this is a hot take, is underrated.
That's
underrated. He was my top 4 X Factor players going into the season.
Yeah, he's awesome. I like Charlie Cameron. I think he's like an awesome small forward.
I love him.
Yeah, he's like exciting to watch. He regularly kicks goals. It's one of the harder positions to play, and he's like makes it almost like he has games where he's quiet, but he has games where he's genuinely dominant and can change a game. So, like they say that key forwards and stuff is like, oh, you absolutely have to have one of them. But it's like, if you have a fucking awesome small forward, that's pretty good. Like, look at Adelaide with Isaac Rankin. Like, he's changed a couple of games for them in the first 4 rounds. So,
yeah, he's amazing. He's taken what was already a fairly good offense, Isaac Rankin, and turned it into an even more, like an even higher power offense. So it's cool to see. Yeah, the Will Ashcroft. So I put the footage in the chat, but the Will Ashcroft, I mean, he's been awesome as well. I'm really loving all the rising stars this season as well. I think we've got like a really good bunch. Whoops.
Has Geelong got a player that's under 25 years old that might be eligible for the rising star?
Yeah, we got Tanner Bruin.
Oh yeah, yeah, he's good. And
He had a couple of good games. I don't think he played last weekend though.
yeah, okay.
So he'll be good. He'll come with good experience. He played well against the Pies.
One other thing about the Charlie Cameron goal is a bit of NBA influence. He gives the too short, too small gesture after kicking the goal.
Yes. How nice was that? That's also big in the NFL as well as a celebration.
Oh, really?
Well, because wide receivers do it all the time to defensive backs because they're like, nah,
okay.
too small. Yeah. That's good.
That's awesome.
And my number one play from it has to be Aliir Aliir. Game on the line. Most epic 4 points. And did you see the post game interview with him from Channel 7 broadcast had it?
No.
It was quite good because he was describing from his perspective, he was saying like, yeah, I was looking at the kick and I was thinking like, oh man, this is going to go through for sure. So I kind of didn't really plan on doing anything about it. And then he was saying he saw the Sydney players who was it started celebrating early? Was it wasn't Chad Warner's I can't remember. I've lost it. And then someone started celebrating early, and then Buddy was sort of like going to, rather than make a play at the ball, he kind of just took another player to the ground. And then Aliir said that all the space opened up for him, and he was like, "Oh, I can see it's going to fall short." So he could start to see it drop short, and he made this. He was like, "That's it. This is my moment," and he came through. It was so good. I thought that was awesome.
That's awesome. What amazing game sense. That's so good because it looked. They had the vision like behind the guy taking the kick, and it was like, this looks home, and I just like didn't get there
from every angle. Hey, by the way, while we're talking about this moment and like say Buddy's moment as well from last season, can we get Sydney to fix that camera angle where the crowd can clearly just jump in front of it and all of a sudden you just see silhouettes?
People are talking about it now because of all the people in front of the cameras, but it's always been a bugbear of mine. It's because of the SCG. So wherever their flights are, the cameras are just too low. So you don't get it's a very horizontal field of view. So you don't get much perspective for how far away people are. It's always been a bugbear.
Yeah, it's like, not to alienate our Sydney listeners, but how shit is Sydney? Like terrible, coffee and
that's like no offense, but absolute drunk mongrel.
The bloody traffic, everything there. Seriously.
Ed, I can't wait for the day where you actually get Twitter and start using it.
No way. No.
I did also enjoy the Ollie Florent, which I like Ollie Florent, but the celebration turned
always a classic
despair. It was I should have memed at the time with the Ralph Wiggins. You can literally see tomorrow in his hairstyles.
No, that has been a meme already. You'd be late.
Okay,
wasted the time. I've seen it.
Okay. It just instantly came to mind. So that was good as well. So all in all, some really good moments from the rounds. I'm glad I could get 5, unlike the weekend before I couldn't quite get 5. But I think the Rising Stars have been awesome. Play's been awesome. Jez has been awesome. That's it.
And I'm going to just put an honourable mention there to Jake Stringer's torp on the run from 55 out against the Giants, which was literally the only highlight in that game. So otherwise it was pretty bad. So
do you want to talk about the
20 behinds get kicked?
The 22 behinds, or was it 23?
It was 22 and a bunch of out on the fulls. And some just didn't even make the distance. So it was pretty bad. There was some
what was their inside 50 count? It must have been enormous.
Really high. We should have absolutely annihilated the Giants. They definitely made the most of their opportunities, and we just could not kick anything. And we dominated everyone. To be honest, the Giants were absolutely deplorable. They turned it over.
They've been bad.
Just constantly. I was like, this is insane. It's just like they're giving it back every single time. And then we would go down the other end, score maybe 1 to 3 points, and then they would take it up their end and score a goal. And it would kind of repeat. We'd occasionally score a goal. And then third quarter and last quarter, we kicked straight enough and we ran over the top of them. But it was a crazy game. It was Jake Stringer kicked, I think, 4 goals, 6, and then 2 out in the full. So it was a wild game.
Looking at the team stats,
sounds like a Jake Stringer game.
Yeah.
the team stats is actually you wouldn't be able to guess who won by just looking at the stats. They're actually very even. There's no way that Essendon is even. You might have thought GWS might have won. They had more disposals.
Wow, really? I haven't looked at the stats.
I mean, they had 11 less inside 50s, but that's not a crazy huge difference.
No. It just it just seemed like it's what the problem was GWS just turned the ball over at like horrible points constantly.
Yeah.
But that was it. We do not need to talk about that game any longer because it wasn't good. And Essendon is going to get, well, if it wasn't going, apparently there's going to be like 20 mil of rain when Essendon plays against Melbourne. So Essendon will get thumped by like 25 points in the torrential rain by Melbourne. So
yeah, Giants are interesting. They're 8th in scoring shots in the league, and they're 18th in scoring shots allowed in the league, but they're only 12th in total points per game allowed in the league. So they're the 12th worst defense, but 18th, so dead last worth at scoring shots. They've allowed 30 scoring shots, 28 scoring shots, 29 and 33. It's by quite a lot. The next team is Eagles with 28. So yeah, defense no good for Giants.
No.
Good win for the Bombers though. Do you think maybe I'm a bit unfair on them now that I actually sort of look
power rankings?
My power rankings, I've got the Bombers 12th.
Oh, no.
And they're up 2.
You're spot on. I reckon 12th is basically where we'll finish. And I think anyone who has watched all of our games, which is me, knows it's like we don't look that good. We look better than we did last year. I think every Essendon supporter is like, yeah, that's good because we actually look like we're pretty competitive all the time. So I don't reckon this year we'll get smashed. We look too much like, but I also don't think we're going to beat any team that makes the top 8. So I reckon we will be a good, do they call it like a bellwether? Like, if a team plays us and beats us comfortably, I reckon they'll probably make the top 8. So, yeah.
It's interesting. So they smashed the Hawks by 10 goals in the first round. They beat the Suns, who, again, if we've established that they're not a really great team.
Yeah.
Because, again, if the Suns hadn't had Jack Lukosius kick 5 goals on the Cats, the Suns would be winless. And then they did lose to the Saints, but Saints are really good. They've got their number 1 defense in the league. And then, they beat the Giants. So, hard to say. You played the D's and then Pies and then the Cats and then Port Adelaide, Brisbane, Richmond, as I was saying to you the other day.
If I'm wrong,
if you get one win out of that.
If I'm wrong and we win one of those games, the lid is completely off because now it's firmly on right now. It's like, whatever, it doesn't matter. But if we win one of those, it'll be firmly off.
And the team you're most likely to beat is probably Geelong, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Given how fast Essendon play.
Yeah, but I could not remember the last time we beat Geelong. I reckon it was like 5 years ago, maybe.
Was it the opening round match last year that we went to where we beat you by like
I don't think Essendon scored in the first quarter or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys scored like 7 goals.
Yes. Okay, nice one.
Essendon's won the last 5.
Oh, okay, cool.
2018.
I'm excited for
now you got a few thoughts from the weekend as well, from the weekend footy. Where would you like to start?
I'll make this quick. I think there's one main thought that I want to share before Jasper's full segment. Actually 2. Yeah. So, fellas, there are some certainties in life. Some say that death is a certainty, although I hear people are freezing themselves. Taxes, and the third certainty that everyone can agree on is an ex-Port player saying Ken Hinkley should be sacked. I just read Warren Treadray, after the Sydney loss, still thinks that Ken Hinkley should be sacked because they're going nowhere. What does the guy have to do to kind of get some kind of job security in the AFL? Like, it's Ken Hinkley more than any other coach. It's like his own supporter base hates him. Like, just want him to get out of there. Why is that?
He hasn't been he's been there for a long time.
Yes, yeah, it's true.
10 years.
Yeah, so he's probably the second or third most tenured coach. And he's got them to 1 prelim.
Maybe 2.
Possibly. Yeah. I
No,
think
no, no. He's got at least 2. At least 2.
2014.
Yeah. And then no, 3, and they got flogged in another prelim. So
Yeah.
so he's gone to 3 prelims, but not a grand final. So
But the North had been to 2 prelims with Brad Scott as well. So that's not always a great indicator of success either. I mean, it's a show of
Hold on.
some success
Are
to
you
the level.
are you saying Brad Scott is not super coach?
I'm saying he might get you a finals win at least.
Yeah.
But it's not a great indicator. Like at some point you got to move on.
Yeah, I guess so. But I'm saying that is bad call from Warren Treadray and lay off my boy Ken.
Why are you such a big Ken? I'm on the train for he. He should have been fired. Like
leave Ken alone. Okay, my other just
I just wanted to say that obviously I love Port Adelaide and I'm totally on the train, but like they haven't been great this season. But if you look at their matchups, like it's been tough. So they smashed the Lions. That was a great win. But I was also, as I was saying before, that was sort of Brisbane's one bad game, I guess, that they could have. They got smashed by the Pies. That was a total blowout. They got smashed in the end in the fourth quarter by Adelaide, who I rate Adelaide as a very, very, very good team. And then they only just beat Sydney, who I also rate as a good team. So I think they've had 4 really tough matchups. And the fact that they're 2-2 from it, I think is a good sign. They're playing the Dogs. So Dogs have got the short straw there because they have to play an Adelaide team this weekend. But they should win that. Then they play Eagles. They should win that. Saints will be a good matchup. And then Bombers and North Melbourne. So like they could come back around and have a winning record, be inside the 8 by the end of round 10.
Yeah. I think Port could still, I reckon Port will make the 8. I reckon that's my hot tip right now. I did want to check, looking at the ladder, guys, is there anyone outside the 8 that you're like, they are definitely going to make the 8 still?
Definitely. I mean, I reckon Geelong's still going to make the 8. So
I mean, if Cats smash the Eagles this weekend, I think we'll be inside the 8, depending on how a few of the other games fall.
Yeah, I mean,
you guys are both jumping on the Cats bandwagon that I started.
There's heaps of teams who are outside who could go in. I reckon Port could go in. I reckon Dogs, Richmond.
No. I want you guys to make a lock in round 4. When
Geelong.
Team? Yeah, Geelong.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say Richmond because they haven't been great. I'm going to say Port Adelaide and Geelong.
You'd have to say Port Adelaide, saying that you were sure that they were going to win the flag at the start of the season.
It's hard to win the flag from outside the 8.
I don't think I said that they would win the flag.
Well, you were calling them Port Flag Mantle or Port Flag Adelaide, whatever you're calling them.
Yes.
My last point from this week is, Jasper, are there any whispers yet that Sam Mitchell might be sacked?
No.
I just want to be the one that said it first. So I don't think
Hawthorn is going to be much like Essendon in the way of being a bit topsy-turvy with how they treat their coaches.
Essendon would have sacked him after round 2. You guys are holding off on the trigger way too much.
Yeah. Well, no, he's been there for probably 17 years or so, I think.
17 years. 17 years at the bottom is a long time, though.
You would know.
Yeah. That's all from me, though. I'm excited for the next segment.
Very nice. Well, let's get into it. So we'll finish up with. Oh, Jasper, actually, did you want to jump into anything?
I don't have anything lined up.
No, because that's what I thought you didn't either, and then he said you did.
Oh, sorry. Okay, we'll edit this bit out. But
no, I
thought you had Swamp Things.
I can do that. I'm looking at it now. I can rip one off.
Yeah. So just all right. Intro it though, because I'm not exactly sure.
Yeah. So, another trivia quiz question for the week. Thanks to Sir Swamp Thing on Twitter. I'll find another source one day. So the third quarter of the Hawks v Geelong. Geelong scored 65 points to 0. That is the 8th or 9th most ever, highest score to no score ever. Can you guess to the roundest 10 what the highest score to no score is?
Oh,
that was 65 to 0, and that was the 9th.
To no score.
Yeah.
I reckon it would be one of those like 1913.
I can tell you what year it. Actually, no, have a guess first, and then I'll start.
Okay,
Okay,
1913.
so what the question, Jazz.
Not years.
So
guess
what's
what?
to 90 or to 80 to like something like that, right?
Yeah, so we'll go to the nearest 5, just because
Okay,
it's a close bunch in here.
all right. Maybe we do like a sale of the century where you go higher, lower.
Yeah,
So I'm going to
do
guess 80.
It's a higher.
Oh, I was going to say 75.
So because you got one wrong, I'll give you a clue. It happened in 1919.
Oh, yeah. So there you go.
Oh,
What's the
that
difference?
year.
1913.
It was post World War One.
And that actually makes it easier to guess as well.
Yeah, you should
was
know.
it-
Like, you know all the results and scores and how they came about off the top of your head. don't you?
Yeah,
As long
true.
as you give it,
Okay,
like,
all right.
So 85 then?
90.
Higher.
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 What?
95.
Higher. I'll guess.
100.
Higher.
150.
Lower. 106.
Wow.
To 0.
Oh my god. Which teams were involved? Was it university?
It looks like it was South Melbourne versus Kilda.
Oh god.
That's
Round 12, 1919.
What
That's
a time
rough.
to be alive. Imagine, wait, so who was the team that didn't score at all? Let me guess. St Kilda, right?
Yeah. Of course.
The Saints are in a few of them.
They have a lot of records.
The one that I enjoyed the most, biggest crowds from bottom of the table clashes. We smashed it. Biggest all time is now 65,000. Round 4, 2023, Geelong versus Hawthorn. Prior to that was 52,000, 2019, round 3, Melbourne versus Essendon. And then 49,000
Right.
for 2006, round 16, Essendon versus Carlton.
Yes, that was the famous Bryce Gibbs Cup.
Oh, was it in 2006? Yeah.
Yeah, I think I went to that game. We lost, but we ended up not getting Bryce Gibbs. So yeah,
So you lost.
we lost
the
both.
match,
Yeah,
and you lost price.
Yeah.
Only Essington could do that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that was
All right.
good, Jazz.
Thanks. Thanks to Sir Something on Twitter.
Let's finish up with a couple of the key matchups from the weekend in Radelaide. The first one I want to start off with was Rad versus Carlton. Earlier this afternoon, Adelaide were just lost it. So they were 1.5 point favourites, which I think then the news broke that Sam Walsh is going to be playing, and a couple of other key players for the Blues, 2 others. So now it's Blues minus 1.5 favourites. Do you have an inkling either way?
I actually reckon Carlton might pull this off. Don't know why. I like Adelaide and I would want them to win, but I think Carlton's going to for some reason or another. Feel it in the loins.
Oh, those loins are trustworthy.
They're red hot like the coals that the Adelaide players walk
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I think Adelaide, if they have a chance to meet with collective mind and do the whole thing with them again, then they'll win. If they're not, then it'll be Carlton. No, I actually think Adelaide will win in a closer. I reckon it's going to be a great game. I'm so looking forward to watching this.
How good's Thursday night footy, by the way?
Oh my god,
is it
awesome.
Is it all year?
No, I think it
No,
ends
it's breaks.
soon.
Boo.
It might even end after this week or next week. But like having the Easter break, 5 days of football, 2 days off, and then another 4 days of football. Woo.
Pretty good. And I reckon one thing with Thursday football is that someone said it that it's like it works best when it's an interstate game. Like
100%. Yeah, I don't want my team playing on Thursday night,
but
but I love watching some football on Thursday night.
It's like I just don't think people in Melbourne turn out on Thursday nights for some reason.
I don't think anyone anywhere does.
Well, Melbourne gets pretty cold, and it's just like, can't be bothered. Whereas, like in Brisbane and Adelaide and Perth, they all turn out on Thursday nights. It's good to watch.
Yeah, I'm on the Crows for this one. They're 3rd in the league in total scoring, 14th in defense. So Blues are 7th in defense. So, sorry, third in total scoring against. So I think Blues defense could be good, but I think this is going to be all Adelaide, and I think they're going to be like pretty energized by the week ahead.
All right, other game of the round though, Collingwood Saints. Who are people tipping?
Ooh. the bookends, first and last games of the round.
Yeah.
I'm going to say Collingwood.
I'm going to say Collingwood as well, just because I still don't think the Saints are completely all that. I think that they've had like a pretty...
It'll be their first big test.
Exactly.
And like against one of the best teams, informed teams in the comp, and with all their injuries, whether they can keep covering them up. Although Jack Steele's meant to be back as well, only a few weeks after dislocating his shoulder.
And didn't I see Jermaine Gresham is meant to be back as well?
Jade Gresham?
Sorry, Jade.
Oh my God,
Jermaine Gresham. Oh my God. Jermaine Gresham is a tight end who played on the Arizona Cardinals.
You made this mistake last week. This was called out by friend of the show, Pablo Ray. So
because is that why he said that? I was like, what are you talking about, Pablo?
You've been reading The Female Eunuch by Jermaine Greer and obviously watching football. But yeah. So
Jermaine Gresham was an NFL player, played on the Cardinals. Not even for that long.
Yeah, okay. That's amazing.
That's why so it's Jade.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
But so the Saints have beaten Freo. We know who aren't very good. They beat the Dogs. Dogs only put 41 points on them, so they had a nightmare game. So good win. They beat the Bombers and they beat the Suns. This will be their first test. So they got Collingwood, Carlton, Port Adelaide coming up. Then they play North Melbourne. Then they're back in Adelaide again to play Adelaide. So I think that this is where the real test starts.
Yeah, wow. Well, I think I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to tip the Saints. And
I thought you were going to say the Pies.
What do you like about the Saints, Eddie?
Well, I just think at the moment, I haven't seen a team play with such vigor and intensity. And obviously, they're well structured. Everyone knows their role. And it's like, a team's playing well when someone like Mason Wood is playing well, because he's a journeyman, and now he's playing the best football of his career at 29. And somehow, I don't know what Ross does in the change room, or whatever, but he gets the most.
He tells them who's the boss.
That's true. It was like, how does he turn a bunch of like shit truck players like Mason Wood and Zach Dawson into like actually decent enough players to, play well? I don't know what he does, but anyway, I'm like liking watching them be successful at the moment, and I reckon the only reason I say Saints is because I reckon Collingwood not having a ruckman was just a bit of a important reason why they lost against Brisbane.
Vigo did turn up.
Brisbane have been good in Brisbane as well. Like they beat the D's.
Yeah.
As well. The two best teams in the league, D's and Collingwood. D's and Pies, I should say. They played in Brisbane and won. So, yeah, it's a tale of two seasons.
That is also true. I reckon Rowan Marshall will play a really important game. And the other reason I tip the Saints is because I think it's going to be a very wet weekend. And so I reckon Saints structure will suit them well.
I've not seen the weather forecast, but that makes sense because I did see the over-unders for a lot of games. They're all pretty low. Okay.
Is that how you check the weather from now on? You check the betting odds?
Yes. Yeah, I check what the over-under scores are. I'm like, it's pretty low. Must be raining.
I should wear my jacket.
And Mitch Owens, latest Rising Star nomination from the Saints.
The Dorito.
Cool. Yeah. Dorito. Is that his
round 4 Rising Star?
Isn't his name Michito or Michito?
Yeah, Michito.
Yeah.
His mother is Japanese.
Yeah, cool.
Probably not about Doritos then.
I should probably read the full article before I go and say stuff like that, though.
Oh, you're going to be cancelled.
You might know a friend of the podcast, Andrew's stepmom.
That's true. Guys, I actually edit this bit, John. Can you throw to me for the thingo?
The
what?
rules.
For my segment.
The rules.
Okay, so games look good.
No more games. I'm fine. Oh, do we want to talk about Essendon and Melbourne? No, I guess we touched on that before.
I've told you what's going to happen. Essendon is going to. I think it'll be competitive for like a half, and then Melbourne is going to kick away, and it's in the rain. It'll be an ugly game to watch.
Richmond Sydney, that could be an interesting one.
Richmond Sydney
that could be an interesting game. Yeah, I think. Okay, if Richmond lose that, are they cooked for the season? Are they finished?
It doesn't. It puts them in a very bad position. One that's hard for them to come back, and they come back from. Unless they hire Arnie, in which case they'll be back.
I didn't know Chris Gale was doing the podcast.
What does he say? Chill, sweetheart.
Something like that. Something delightful.
Yeah, it puts them in a bad position. But something that we haven't really touched on in all these games is the interstate factor of all the playing in Adelaide. No teams other than Port and Adelaide will be playing at home, and how that may affect some of the results. So we're just going best team wins regardless of where they play. I reckon Sydney might win. That'll be another good game though.
Richmond lost Tom Lynch, who's like he's got the most punchable face in football. He's also like a really good player.
Is he injured?
Yeah, he's out for 12 weeks.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay, I thought he was. It was just the suspension talk, but okay.
No, he's
12 weeks.
12 weeks. Yeah. He's
done.
And
wasn't Jack Rewalt managed last week?
He was.
Yeah.
Around 4 in the season.
Yeah, that's where Jack's at the moment.
Yeah.
And then Toby Nankervis is out as well for like next 2 months.
Yeah. So
they're cooked. I reckon they're done. I reckon Sydney will win that pretty easily.
Tigers were already 15th in the league in scoring, which is bad, but they're second in the league in scoring against. So good defense.
Yeah. Okay.
17th in scoring shots put up on them. So bad. That they've been scoring. So bad offense, good defense. Yeah. So the Swans are all around good.
Turn the oven off. The Tiger is cooked.
Yes.
All right, cool. Eddie, let's roll to your rules and then we'll get out of here.
We need what's the segment called? We need a name for it.
I've already given it one.
Yeah, didn't we have one?
It's Rules the World.
Rules the World.
Anyway, thank you, John. So, some people say that the biggest issue in football right now is, concussion. Some people say that it's, player behavior off the field. Jack Chris, looking at you. Other people say that it's the low scoring or the high scoring in both of your cases, not liking goals. But I say the biggest issue in football right now was pointed out by Geelong great Premiership coach Chris Scott. And he said it's people being dangerous in the ruck and running at each other with their knees and jumping into each other and hurting the other ruckman. I've long thought that the ruck duel needs fixing. And luckily in this segment, we're going to run past a few ideas that I cooked up during the week about how to fix the ruck duel. So
now this is a hot topic amongst Geelong Twitter, Ed. So could get spicy. But now, did you read what Mason Cox said? The Mason Cox article. Is this pre or post that?
No. What did Mason Cox say?
That's all right. No. How about you go on and I'll see if it comes up.
Well, these are some left field suggestions, but I will start off with So Jasper, you're a big fan of basketball. John, you're also a fan of basketball. We play soccer. They don't start with any ball up in the middle every single time a goal or a point is scored. The basketballers, they start at the back. The soccer start in the middle. What if instead of starting with a ball up, which no one wants to see, we either start at the back when like a goal score, they're starting to kick out straight from the behinds, or they start from the middle. What about that?
Well, one thing, NBA does start with a ball up.
Yeah, that's at the start, though. No one remembers that.
And they have them as well when there's a contested ball between two opposition players.
But imagine the chaos in basketball if they went back to the middle every single time. If the players ran at each other trying to hit the ball.
Basketball. One thing. So what's the difference between scoring a point and a goal? Like, it puts the team who had the goal scored against them in the worst position possible.
Well, you've got to be prepared, and it would change the game for the better, maybe. Who knows? So
instead of 10 goals on the weekend in one quarter, Geelong would have kicked 25 goals. Because it's like playing street hoops where you score and you get the ball back.
We finally could have seen that 1919 record broken, Jasper.
So you're advocating for a make it and take it league. So you kick the goal and basically you get to keep it in your half.
Yeah, but the other team gets it and they can kick it wherever they want. Well, okay, all right, we scratched that one now. What about it goes back to the middle and Geelong's kicked a goal and then it goes back to the middle and the Hawthorn team has got it in the middle.
I mean, I'm for that as a team that isn't scoring many goals at the moment.
Yeah, we give you like Charity Gaze is a bit of a hand up. So
how does this affect the 666 rule then? Is that still enforced?
Yeah, still enforced. Okay. And you just get a free kick in the middle. So
okay, so you basically get an automatic inside 50 yards.
Yeah, exactly. I take it.
I'm up for that.
No, yeah, I'm with it. If I could incorporate the NFL into it, I do think that there could be some sort of so if one team kicks a goal, so at the start of the game and at halftime, one team gets the ball and they from maybe like halfway or the back 50, and they get to just kick it forward like how they would in the NFL.
Okay.
And then same up, and then similar to like punting or a turnover. So, if a team scores a goal, then the opposition gets to kick it from their back 50 and they get to torp it as far as they can into the other team's defensive 50, but then the other team gets the ball and then they kind of have to like charge at each other.
We are getting into complex territory here. I'm taking that as a yes from both of you for that one.
Put me down as a yes.
It's going to the AFL.
Notice to the AFL.
Yeah, so because Mason Cox was basically saying like, why don't we just do what they do in basketball then, where you can't put your knee up, you just sort of do a tip up at the start, but every time.
I came close to that idea. In fact, I wrote it down, but I didn't like it that much. I preferred something a little bit more medieval, one might say. So what about instead of the center circle, which is boring, what about we have more of like there's two lanes that are about 20 meters long and think about your favorite Heath Ledger movie from the mid-2000s, A Knight's Tale. What about it's more like jousting? And so what you have is you have these two lanes outlined on the ground in the center, and the players are separated on either end. And then the play starts, and they're like 20 meters apart, and the ball's thrown in the air, and then the players run past on each side with their arm out, and they try and slap the ball like jousting.
So... question, not to be a devil's advocate every time, but this all came about because Chris Scott was saying that ruck was too dangerous.
No, but it's just with your hand. It's just with your hand. So you're sticking your hand out
and so you coat-hang at the other player to try.
No. He's just got his hand as well. So the worst you'll do is like high five each other.
I see. You're 2 arms length apart, basically.
Yeah, but I mean, you could touch hands. But, that's it. So that would make it very safe. Everyone's in there, but it'd also be a bit of a spectacle because, like, this would be essentially a jousting competition with your hands on the ball. So
I reckon it adds another element to the grand final sprint. I reckon teams will just put their tallest people in there and see and compete, and then they can suss out who their best play will be for these ruck contests going forward. Yeah,
because you'd need quick ruckman.
Yeah.
What's his name? Reece Stanley would become the number one ruckman. So what do you reckon, John?
This one is probably the one of the harder ones to get behind. I thought the lights in the footy was a good idea. And I thought the bumper position was a good idea. This one could do a bit of work.
Yeah, okay. All right.
I've got a suggestion if you don't have any more.
No. One more.
Always got more.
One more that will you will be absolutely behind because let's say we keep the physicality of the contest. We get rid of, maybe the dirty acts by Hawthorn players or whatever, but we look more for something like tug of war. We keep the circle. The ball is placed in the middle and both players get to grab onto it. And then the umpire blows their whistle and they both have to try and grab it and they can't get rid of it until they get the ball out of the circle and then they can pass it to their team. So, yeah. Tug of war.
I don't hate that. It's a bit like an ice hockey, the puck drop in ice hockey.
Yes, the puck drop, the ball drop. Yeah.
Yeah. So you drop it and you basically advocating for a scrum. maybe there's no other players allowed in the centre
Yes,
square.
it's just the
except
ruckman.
for the ruckman. So there comes become a whole scrum where it's just a ball up instantly.
Except
they have to fight for it until they.
Would you keep it as tall people doing that, or would you get someone like
a sumo wrestler?
Yeah, I was just thinking like
gotta go for weight.
You know,
a
old
sumo
man
wrestler because
Tony
they're good at
Liberatore
pushing
would be
people,
the best
so they can
one.
push the other one.
You'd need like
Honda, you need him.
You need those linebackers from the NFL as your ruckman now to get the ball out.
Well, I was just thinking it'd stop people from Jordan Mailata going over and playing for the Philly Eagles. Like he'd probably want to come play for the West Coast Eagles.
Yeah.
Of course, he made $40 million in Philadelphia, but you
can make a solid 400K in Australia.
Think of all the hungry jacks you could get as the ambassador for the West Coast Eagles.
Yeah,
that's true.
Well, that's all, fellas. I'll be sending them on the
hold on, I've got one more.
Jess, please contribute.
I mean, it's in the same vein in that we're changing the ruck contest, but I'm going in a different direction. I'm saying football these days, bunch of pansies, bunch of wussy girls. So I reckon we need to harden up. Instead of a ball up, we're going to have a WWE style ladder match.
Who can get the ball first?
Hanging up, have a ladder, and the two people have to fight to get the ball.
Yeah, cool. It's actually in a ring as well, and then they get to pass it outside the ring.
We're just turning it into wrestling.
But
Diamond Dallas Page has to come back.
Yeah, cool. All right. And you have to do like an old school wrestling finishing maneuver, like a Stone Cold Stunner to
and it's probably going to be based around your team. So cats are going to like scratch you.
Yes, yeah.
Bombers are going to like jump on you.
Yeah.
The idea of the wrestling ring actually does kind of work, because how often do you see the ball actually go through the circle in the middle of the oval once it's been initially balled up, but like it never goes back there.
Yeah.
So we just leave it there.
Yeah, so it wouldn't affect game
style.
Spend
more time there.
I reckon that's going to affect game style big time. Actually, I think teams are probably going to kick over it because it's going to be very hard to get around.
Because once you go back in the ring, you are back wrestling.
Yeah.
And then when you're outside of the ring, you can play normal football. Yeah. Well, I think we've solved it, guys. Chris Scott is going to be very thankful, and no ruckman will ever get injured again. So, yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of the pod. As always, thank you, gentlemen. That was fantastic. Good chats. Excited for Radelaide this weekend and gather around. Hopefully the weather is not too bad. Gather around. And we'll be back next week with all the same shenanigans. And until then.
Ball!
Ball!